Can we predict when points will go on sale? We can try. In today's video, we are covering the top 10 airline and hotel programs where we saw a lot of points going on sale in 2024, plus a sweet spot that you can book with each of these different programs, and what that means as far as planning where to move your points around versus when to buy points in 2025. So let's jump right in. All right, we have a tie for 10th place on the top 10 for most common point sales, and that is going to be Air France KLM Flying Blue. In 2024, they had 6 different sales in February, April, June, August, October, and December. So it's fairly predictable that every 2 months or so, they're probably going to have a sale on points, but the range of how much they are on sale could vary quite a bit. It could be anywhere from 35%, which happened in April, and then 70% in June. Most of the time, you can expect a 40 to 50% discount on Air France or KLM Flying Blue miles. And the most common use case for this deal for people in North America is to fly from North America over to France or Amsterdam. And you can oftentimes book the additional positioning flight within Europe for no extra charge. And the way you do that is just to go to airfrance.us, click on this tab Book with Miles for one way, and here's a couple tips. Pick a Canadian city because they're often going to have cheaper pricing versus the US cities. Then select either Amsterdam or Paris, leave the departure date blank, select one adult to start, business class, then click Search Flights. And by leaving the departure date blank, it'll actually show you the full calendar of different sales that you can choose from. Also tied for 10th place is going to be Hilton, which oftentimes runs a 100% bonus where they sell their points for half a cent per point. And you can use this deal, which regularly occurs, to purchase some very, very luxurious Hilton stays at a low price. This deal occurred in March, May, July, September, November, and December 2024. So it's not exactly every other month, but they do make it available pretty regularly. So here's how you're going to find great hotel deals where you can utilize this deal. For today's example, we are going to use the Waldorf Astoria in the Maldives, where it would normally be about $3,000 per night. But what we're going to do instead is if you checkbox use points, you can sometimes find this for $150,000. And the way that you can find the best dates for this is go to Hilton.com's homepage and then search for the hotel that you want. So here we're going to type in Waldorf Astoria Maldives. And then don't type in any specific dates, just click Find Hotel. Then you're going to get back to this page, click on the hotel that you want, which should be the first result that comes up in the Hilton search page. Then when you click on Select Dates, it's going to bring up the whole calendar for you. This is going to be in cash, so make sure that before you click on Select Dates, checkbox Use Points, then click Select Dates, and it'll show you which dates have different points prices. So sometimes it is ridiculously expensive. Like here we see it's nearly 2 million points per night. Sometimes it's more like 2.5 million points per night. But every once in a while, you can find a date where it's only 150,000 points. And so that's the saver space that you would be going for with this Hilton deal. Also, if you get really lucky, you'll be able to find 4 of these in a row, so you can book 5 nights for the price of 4, and then it would only be 600,000 points for all 4 nights. Let's scan through really quick to see if there's anything like that. If we're not seeing them, that's okay. We can just do this example with maybe a 2-night stay in the Maldives where it would be 300,000 points for the 2 nights. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything where there's 4 nights in a row with 150,000 points. So let's just say that we just want to stay for 2 nights. We just need 300,000 points, but we don't currently have any points with Hilton, and you want to reserve your Amex points for something else, like the flight. That's when this Hilton points on sale deal can come in handy, because to purchase the 300,000 points that you would need, you would just end up spending $1,500, which is still a lot. To buy 300,000 points for $1,500, that's not nothing, but keep in mind that you would be able to stay in this hotel, which would normally cost $3,000 per night. So instead of spending more than $3,000 per night, you are spending $1,500 to stay for 2 nights, effectively getting 75% off of this very luxurious stay at the Waldorf Astoria Maldives. And you can depend on this deal to come up pretty regularly throughout the year So if you're short on hotel points, you can just buy Hilton points and stay at a luxurious hotel that way. Coming in to ninth place for most sales this year is Wyndham Rewards. They had 7 different promotions this year, starting in February, then April, May, August, October, November, December. So somewhere between every other month and every month, you can expect some kind of discount with Wyndham points. The amount varies a little bit. Sometimes it's 30%, 25%. It'll go as high as 60%, which is what we saw last month in November. But pretty normally is going to be in the 30 to 40% off. So as I record this, there's a 45% discount on purchase points through the end of the year. And for anybody who's not that familiar with Wyndham, it's not one that I transfer points to a ton. Capital One miles will transfer there almost instantly. You could also use City points, which transfer within 24 hours or so. But they have some pretty good hotel options. If you just go to wyndhamhotels.com, you can see that for this random search that I did for New York City on New Year's Eve, a lot of the hotels are going to be $500, $800 or so per night. They can get pretty expensive if you want to do something like that. But the nice thing about Wyndham points prices is that it doesn't really get any more expensive than 30,000 points per night. So this New Yorker hotel, which is a Wyndham hotel, goes for 30,000 points per night instead of $800. And when points are on sale, you can buy 30,000 points for about $214. And that is a really good price where you can effectively get 75% off or so on this hotel. Instead of paying $800, you can pay $214 for 30,000 points and then stay in New York City for New Year's Eve that way. Coming in to 8th place with most point sales this year is going to be Southwest Airlines, where they did 8 different sales, usually for 40 to 50% off of points. More than likely, it's going to be 50%. They had deals in late February, early April, mid-May, June, August, September, October, and December. So more often than not, points with Southwest are probably going to be on sale. And for that reason, I would almost never say transfer your points from Chase to Southwest unless you are in a dire pinch and have way too many Chase points. And that's because with Southwest, I think I've mentioned a few times on this channel, there are no good deals, there are no bad deals. Everything is at the same fixed rate, where if the points price goes up, the dollar price went up, and vice versa. So let's take this example from Las Vegas over to Salt Lake City, where on March 1st, it would be $107 to fly this particular flight. If we change it to points, then it would be 7,000 points plus $5.60. So you're almost always going to get about 1.3 or 1.4 cents per point with Southwest. So why would you ever need to buy points? I tend to look at Southwest as my backup option. There's a lot of flights out of Las Vegas. I prefer to fly American Airlines because I have status with them. But if I need a backup flight or American Airlines just doesn't have any good routes, I would purchase Southwest points and book the flights with points rather than cash, because if you need to cancel them at the last minute, Southwest is very, very lenient about their cancellation and rescheduling policies, whereas American Airlines and many of the other airlines are not. So if you purchase Southwest points and then book your flights with Southwest points and cancel them, the points just go back into your account immediately, versus if you purchase your flight with credit card, oftentimes it can take them a few days to process your refund. The issue is, with Southwest points, you're usually purchasing them at a rate that is slightly more than 1.4 or 1.5 cents per point, which is why I would say I only purchase these if I have to book a whole bunch of backup flights. But otherwise, I usually skip on these. Coming in at 7th place with 8 sales as well throughout this year is Air Canada. And I get that it's tied at 8 sales with Southwest, but these deals are a lot better, so I'm going to rank them higher. So Air Canada had points on sale in January, April, May, June, July, September, October, and December. I tend to move a lot of points into Air Canada. I think I've used them to book more deals than any other airline program. But if you don't have access to any transferable points, you can always buy them or supplement your points balance if you are a few points short, because they do have points on sale quite often. And like I mentioned, there are so many different deals that you can book with Air Canada. It's probably the most versatile, where you can book stuff to Europe, Asia, Africa, South America. They cover pretty much every region. I use them a lot for booking stuff to Asia. Like, for example, on Seats.aero, you can check all the different places where you can fly for 75,000 points. I've booked this route before from Los Angeles over to Taipei with EVA Air. And for 75,000 points, this flight would normally cost somewhere between $3,500 and $4,000 $1,000 per person one way in EVA Air business class. But whenever Air Canada has points on sale, it'll usually go for 1.4 cents per point, maybe a little bit less than that. They'll have different deals like 100% bonus, 80% bonus, 85% bonus, sometimes as low as 30% discounts, 125% bonus, but most of the time you can expect it to be about 80% bonus miles if you are purchasing points with Airplan. And that math comes out to about 1.4 cents per point. So if you need to purchase 75,000 points to do this business class ticket from Los Angeles over to Taipei, that means that you can purchase those points for about $1,000, $1,050. And so you can then pay $1,050, buy 75,000 points, and flip those 75,000 points into a plane ticket that would normally cost $3,500. So it's not a bad way to play the game. If you are out of transferable points or you don't have any Air Canada miles, you can buy them and still book yourself into business class with deals like this. Coming in at number 6, where they had 9 different sales on points this past year, is IHG. Generally, their sale will be a 100% bonus on points, which means you can buy points at half a cent per point. So this past year, they had sales in end of January to beginning of February, the entire month of May, a little bit at the end of June to beginning of July, another sale in July, another sale in the end of July through all of August into beginning of September, some in September to beginning of October, another one in October, November, and then November through December. So IHG points are like mattress sales. More often than not, they are going to be on sale. So if you have a stay coming up with IHG, you could just wait a couple weeks until they post a sale like this, because it seems like it comes up very, very often. This is also great news because I really don't recommend moving Chase points or any other transferable currency into IHG. It's usually not the best move, and you can do a lot better with those points by transferring them to Airlines, and you can get your IHG points covered just by purchasing the points. Here's an example. If you are looking for best ways to use your IHG points, whether you already have a lot of them stored up or you want to see if the sale is relevant to you, I like to go to rooms.aero, click on Explore, then highlight IHG Rewards. I'm just going to search for one night at a time for now, but if you have the IHG credit card, you can get 4th night free when booking with points, so you can stretch your points out even further that way. But let's say you only need a one-night stay, and I'm filtering this to just US hotels. I also like this feature on rooms.aero where you can say, I only want to know about hotel deals on points where I'm going to get more than X cents per point. So here I've set the filter to anything over 2 cents per point, which is fantastic for IHG, because that means if we are buying them at half a cent per point, we're quadrupling the amount of value we get out of this. Half a cent in, 2 cents out. And what you'll find is you can sometimes get crazy good value because hotels are overpriced. So I don't necessarily recommend you just seek those out just to get a high cents per point. But if you already have a particular stay coming up and you have to be at a particular hotel because of a conference or a wedding or an event, like this Hotel Indigo Athens downtown in Athens, Georgia, these types of sales can really make sense. Because if we go search for this particular hotel on ihg.com on May 10th, it is $5,242 for one night at this hotel, which is definitely not a $5,000 hotel, but they're nearly sold out and there's some kind of event that's making prices crazy. Usually I would say just go to a different hotel like this Holiday Inn, which is $250 per night. But if you really, for some reason, need to be at the Hotel Indigo Athens downtown on that day, instead of paying with money, you can pay with points. And it's going to be 120,000 points per night. If you are purchasing those points, that means you are going to pay $600 because it's half a cent per point. So $600 for 120,000 points, which you can then use to book this $5,000 per night hotel, which is obviously overpriced because there's some kind of event going on. But if you have this kind of situation where it would make more sense for you to just buy the points and then redeem those points at this hotel rather than paying the cash price, that is where these IHG point sales can really come in handy. Coming into 5th place with 9 different sales this year as well, but much more valuable than IHG points, is going to be Alaska Airlines. And technically, Alaska had 8 sales and Hawaiian Airlines had 1, but given that during the time of this recording, you can move Hawaiian points into Alaska because of the merger, we're going to say they had 9 different sales, and Alaska miles are some of the most valuable in the points industry if you have airline-specific miles because of so many different transfer partners. And also because it's so hard to transfer points into there, Bilt is the only flexible rewards currency that'll move into Alaska. Otherwise, you are earning it through the Alaska credit card or buying points like this. So in 2024, they had 8 different sales plus 1 with Hawaiian. And whenever these come up, I recommend checking to see if there are flights that you can book with Alaska to take advantage of these sales, because they cover most any region. Europe, Asia, South America, wherever you want to go. The way that I search for these right now is with seats.aero, where I will click on Explore and then highlight Alaska mileage plan. Then I show flights from North America to Asia, and if you'd like, you can filter on what departure airports you like and what destination airports you like. One of the most common destinations that we get requests for through geobreezetravel.com/request, which is where you can request free personalized tutorials, is Japan. So here I filtered down to a few different airports on the continental United States, arriving in either Haneda or Narita or Incheon, because Korea is very close to it as well. And you see that you can fly Japan Airlines business class for as low as 60,000 points per person one way, and the taxes and fees are only $18 or $19. So always before you purchase any points, confirm that you actually see this flight on Alaska Airlines website, which we do for this particular date that I picked. It looked like there were a lot of last minute flights available, and this one goes direct from Seattle to Narita for 60,000 points plus $19 in Japan Airlines business class direct. So to purchase 60,000 miles with the different Alaska sales, usually they're going to be 60% bonus, sometimes 50, sometimes 70, but most of the sales this past year have been 60% bonus on purchased miles. Which means if you are going to purchase Alaska miles, you're probably purchasing 40,000 points and getting 24,000 bonus miles, which will get you enough points to book the 60,000 point business class trip. And it'll be like you spent $1,100 for that ticket, because then you can flip the 60,000 points into the business class ticket once they're posted to your Alaska Airlines account. And this is a really good deal because I looked up this one-way flight on Google Flights from Seattle to Tokyo for December 30th, which was the date of this particular redemption. That Japan Airlines flight is currently going for about $7,500 per person one way, which is kind of silly. Another way to do this valuation is to take the price of the round trip flight and divide by 2, because oftentimes that will be cheaper than just buying one way. But here we see that the round trip price for last minute Seattle to Tokyo, picking some random dates, December 30th, returning a few days later on January 3rd, that is $16,000 round trip. So dividing by 2, it's like an $8,000 flight one way in business class. So with this redemption, it's like you can pay $1,100 for 60,000 points or so. And with that $1,100, you can flip it into a flight that would normally cost $7,000 or $8,000, which is a great redemption and can save you a lot of money without having to transfer any points or open any new Alaska credit cards or anything else like that. Coming in at number 4 with 10 different point sales this past year is Choice Hotels, where you can buy these points for usually a 50% bonus. Sometimes it's as low as 30. This past round, where it was a sale from November 18 through December 13, had a 60% bonus on purchased points, which comes out to about 0.64 cents per point. Now, Choice Hotels can be really good depending on where you're traveling. They do have some pretty good transfer partners. If you have Citi Thank You points with the Citi Strata Premier, or if you have Wells Fargo rewards with a card like the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey, you can transfer your points in at a 1-to-2 rate. They transfer almost instantly, and it is a great use of those points. But let's say you don't have any Wells Fargo points, you don't have any Citi points, and you are going somewhere like Oslo, Norway, or really anywhere in Scandinavia. This applies to Sweden as well, but especially Oslo. If you look on the Aways site of what major hotel chains are available within Oslo that you could use points on, it's pretty much just Choice hotels. There's one Marriott, but otherwise this entire city is just ruled by Choice hotels. And they're very affordable. You can stay somewhere like The Thief in Oslo, which is 20,000 points per night, or normally close to $300 cash. So if you have City points or Wells Fargo points, you could stay at a $300 hotel for only about 10,000 points transferred in. They also have more affordable options like the Comfort Hotel Grand Central, the Clarion Hotel for only 16,000 points. In the US, Choice hotels are generally known as very budget level hotels, but if you're going to Oslo, they are quite a bit more luxurious if you're staying somewhere like The Thief or Hotel Christiana, which is also a $250 or $300 hotel. But instead of paying $200 or $300, you can book this on the choicehotels.com website for 20,000 points. Keep in mind, with hotels booked through Choice, you can only book stuff up to 100 days into the future. So this is pretty good for last minute bookings or if you're booking a couple months out. And if you are purchasing points on sale, and they're on sale for about 0.64 cents per point, that means you can buy 20,000 points for $128, effectively getting a little bit more than 50% off for a hotel like The Thief, which would normally go for $296, but instead you can buy 20,000 points for $128 and then use those points to book the exact same hotel room. And this sale comes up pretty frequently throughout the year. We saw a Choice Hotel points on sale 10 times in 2024. Coming in third place with collectively about 12 different sales throughout the year is the Avios program, where in 2024 we saw 6 different sales with Qatar, 4 with Finnair, 1 with British Airways, 1 with Iberia. And the nice thing about Avios is that you can transfer points within these different airline programs. So even if there is a sale with Qatar, you could use that to then book a deal on Finnair, British Airways, Iberia, or Aer Lingus. Usually with the sales, we see anything from 40% up to a 60% bonus on purchased Avios. And with a dozen different sales going on throughout the year, more likely than not, one of these programs has a sale going on. So before you transfer any points, I would always check if there is a transfer bonus going on or if there are point sales, because with Avios, you almost never need to pay retail. Finding these deals can be a little bit trickier because the Avios programs aren't really supported by Seats.Aero or most of the other aggregators. The exception is Iberia, which is now supported by Rome.travel. But let's do an example outside of that. So let's say that you wanted to book a Finnair flight, but the only type of points on sale are Qatar. What you could do is go to Seats.Aero on the search tab, click USA, over to Helsinki, and then I'm just going to search far out in the calendar year. And under operating carrier, I'm going to write AY, which is the flight code for Finnair. And here we'll see a lot of different flights to Helsinki from either Dallas, Miami, JFK, Chicago, Seattle. We've got some different options. If you have American Airlines miles, I would just book it through there. This is 57.5 thousand points plus $5.60, which is fantastic. But if you don't have any American Airlines miles, the best way to get around that is by using Avios for this route. Because when we search for this route on Finnair, it's a little bit more in business class, 62.5 thousand Avios plus $137 in taxes and fees. But if you just wanted to purchase those points, let's say there's a 60% bonus on purchased Avios, so you can buy them for 1.44 cents per point. That means you're spending about $900 in order to purchase 62.5 thousand points to book this business class flight from Dallas to Helsinki. And that's a fantastic deal because the retail value of this particular flight would normally be $4,600. So instead of paying that much, you could instead just buy 900 Avios through Qatar, move those points into British Airways, then from British Airways move it into Finnair, book this flight through Finnair, and it's like you got a $4,600 flight for only $900, which makes Avios one of the best programs because there's always some kind of points going on sale. So as long as you know how to find the different flights you want and move the points around within the Avios system, you can save a lot of money this way. Coming in at number 2 with 12 different sales that happened on points this past year is going to be Lifemiles. They had about as many sales as Avios, but the Lifemiles points are a lot cheaper to purchase and a lot easier to use because you don't have to transfer stuff between different airline programs, with that Qatar to Finnair example. So with Lifemiles, the way that the sales are usually structured is that you can buy Lifemiles with some kind of bonus, and it's usually more than 100%. So we're seeing buy Lifemiles with 155% bonus, 160%, as high as 200% we saw for a week at the end of September. And with 12 different sales throughout the year, they have one of these sales pretty much every month for a week or so. So if there's ever something that you want to book on Lifemiles, I would just hold off for a few days. The points are probably going to go on sale, and most of the time they're on sale for 160% bonus or so, which means you can buy points for 1.27 cents per point. Lifemiles is one of those that's not supported by Seats.Aero, but there are still ways to find the great sweet spots here. One of the fan favorites right now is to get flights on United from the East Coast over to London for only 45,000 points per person one way in business class, which is a fantastic deal. So the way you find these is to go to either the United website or Seats.Aero, click Explore from North America to Europe, departing out of somewhere like Newark and arriving into somewhere like London. If you were to book this with United, it's going to cost about 80,000 points per person one way, but you can get it for about half that with Lifemiles. Because let's say we wanted to search for this date, March 4th, from Newark over to London on the Lifemiles website. Then we just expand each of these results that comes up, and we see this exact same flight from Newark to London on March 4, and it's only 45,000 points per person in business class, and the taxes and fees are not that high with Avianca. If you wanted to leverage the sale here, you could buy Avianca Lifemiles. You'll probably need to buy something like 36,000 points and then get 57,000 bonus miles. That is going to cost you $1,188 for 93,000 points, which is enough for this round trip. I would suggest buying enough points for a round trip instead of just a one-way, because with as low as these points requirements are to book these different flights, you do get higher bonuses the more points you buy at a time. So if you can buy tickets for 2 people or yourself a round trip flight where you found availability both to London and from London back to Newark, you can save a little bit more money that way. Because for a round trip flight from Newark over to London in United business class, this would be about $3,000 just as a retail value. But instead of paying $3,000, you can buy about $1,200 worth of points with Lifemiles. Use those Lifemiles to purchase yourself the tickets on points. So it's like you got almost $2,000 off of this round trip business class ticket to London, making Lifemiles one of the better point sales out there, both because it's so cheap to buy their points at 1.27 cents per point most of the time, and because this sale is frequently available. I never actually transfer points over to Lifemiles. I just buy them when I need them if I'm going to be making a redemption through Avianca. And ranking in first place for point sales in 2024 is United. They ran 14 different sales, and all of them were pretty consistent with a 100% bonus on purchased miles. So this means a few things. One, I rarely ever transfer points from Chase or Bilt into United because I tend to conserve them for Hyatt. And PS, we'll do a video on this, but they rarely ever actually have great point sales or transfer bonuses or anything, so I tend to conserve my points to move over to Hyatt. Secondly, the United point sales are very predictable. It's almost always going to be 100% bonus on purchased miles. More often than not, it's going to come up at some point during the month. So this one ranks number 1 for if you want to try to predict different point sales going on. United's got it. You kind of can figure out what the value is going to be and how often and when it's going to come up. So let's go over a quick sweet spot that I like to use United miles for, and that is Eastern Europe, booking through Turkish Airlines, so flying from the United States over to Turkey and then connecting into one of these countries that tends to be a little bit harder to get to otherwise. We're talking Romania, Bulgaria, Albania, Serbia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Hungary. Those are not very well serviced by most other airlines. You can kind of get there maybe with some Air France deals or LOT Polish, but I like Turkish Airlines a lot more. So let's go through an example. With this one, you can just search natively on the United website, where you're searching from one way, checkbox book with miles, checkbox flexible dates, and I'm going to do this from West Coast, San Francisco, over to Belgrade, Serbia. And then I'll just search for a month at a time in business class. The United website is super convenient to where it'll show you the full calendar for the entire month of which dates have the best points prices. The standard pricing for Saver Space on this route is 88,000 points, but since I have the United Explorer card, I do have a card member discount of 9%, so it's only 80,000 points for me to do this. Plus, they tend to open up a little bit more availability. So if you are flying to Eastern Europe or any of the other United hubs a lot, I would recommend looking into a card like the United Explorer card to open up a little bit more award availability. And so you can see this is operated by Turkish Airlines from San Francisco through Istanbul into Belgrade. The entire thing is in business class. It's 80,000 points plus $12.50 in taxes and fees. The retail value of this particular flight is $4,363, which is a lot to fly business class from San Francisco over to Europe. But instead of paying that much, you could just purchase the miles when they're on sale. So right now, as I record this, there is the 100% bonus going on. So if you need 80,000 miles, math says you buy 40,000 points, get a bonus 40,000 points. 40,000 plus 40,000 is 80,000, and so you are paying $1,400 for those points. So in short, it's like you're paying $1,400 to purchase 80,000 points, which you can then flip into this exact business class flight from San Francisco through Turkey into Belgrade, Serbia, rather than paying the usual price of $4,300 for the exact same flight, saving yourself about $3,000 in the process if you want to take this particular flight. There's lots of different United sweet spots, especially the more advanced one is the United Excursionist perk, which we have a couple videos on as well. So if you want to learn more about that, click this video next.